What's up YouTube, I'm Massive Guy, and today I'm going to come at you with my updated Batteryman deck for the January 2015 format. Now, I've been waiting a long time to get this deck done, and I finally did it. Main deck and extra deck are done. There is no side deck. I'm working on it because this format is really complicated. Let's just get into the deck, shall we? So to begin, we're going to have 3 copies of the Batteryman microcell. What he does is when you flip face up, you can summon a level 4 or lower Batteryman from your deck. And if he gets destroyed by battle when he gets after he gets flipped face up, you draw a card. So he's great for your cycling through the deck. And what he gets are the 3 copies of Batteryman 9V. Now, 9V is basically Stratos for the deck, and when he's summoned, you search a battery, and then his attack and defense double, which is kind of terrible since everybody's playing Ragnarok in this format. But it does give you the search. They can't go, okay, summon chain, no, you're going to resolve your search. Unless they solemn it, and they can't bottomless it because the change only happens if they let the search happen. I can't speak. I'm tired. Anyway, we have 3 copies of Batteryman Charger. He is a level 5, so you have to tribute for him, but there's a special card in the deck that gets around that. When he's normal summoned, you can special a battery from the deck, and he gains. And people forget about this. He gains 300 attack and defense for every thunder. So when you summon him, he's automatically a 21. But if they bottomless him, you're still going to get the search. The problem is Torrential is really good against this deck, so they'll just wait until you have all your stuff, and they'll say Torrential, and then you're kind of screwed. But then we have 3 copies of Batteryman Fuel Cell. He is level 6, he has 2100 attack, no defense. You can only special summon him if you have 2 or more batteries that are face up on the field. And once per turn, you can tribute a Batteryman that is not itself to compulse any card on your opponent's side of the field. Now, that means if you have 2 fuel cells, you activate the first one's effect to compulse the other one. You can do that, but you cannot activate the effect and compulse itself. Make sense? Okay. So he's just really good for the fact that he allows an OTK to happen, and that he is compulse on legs, and he's a light, so, yeah. And then finally, here is Big Daddy, 2 copies of Batteryman Industrial Strength. He can only be summoned if you banish 2 batteries from your graveyard. He's got 2600 attack, no defense. And then if you banish a thunder from your graveyard, that's important. If you banish a thunder, you can pop a monster and a back row. You have to pop a monster and a back row. So sometimes what you do is when you have a face-up solar type that you don't want anymore, you just hit pop it, pop your monster, swing, and then boom. Onto my splash, I'm running 2 copies of Maw Hunter and 2 copies of Paw Hunter of the deck, along with 1 copy of Vylon Prism. Now, what these are in here are mainly for the industrial, and the fact that you can make rank 4s and synchros very easily with these, along with your 9V and your fuel cells. So, you know, that's what makes things happen. But, you know, there have been instances where these are like your opening 5 cards. So you can go Maw Hunter into Paw Hunter, into Maw Hunter, into Paw Hunter, into Prism. So you can make either 2 rank 4s and just leave this here, or you can synchro and make a rank 4. So that is what we call a good effect. However, sometimes there are dead draws in your hand, which kind of sucks, but you can't win them all. 2 copies of Honest because you're a light deck. If you're not playing Honest in a light deck, you are stupid. And that'll do it for the monster base. I think there's like 22 monsters or something. I'll have to count. But onto our spells. We have 3 copies of Modern Stormforth. This is the card I was talking about earlier. It's a quick play spell that says, once during your turn, if you would tribute summon a monster, you can tribute one of your opponents. But if you do, you can't special summon from your extra deck. Completely irrelevant, because what you do is, on turn 1, you can Modern Stormforth away your opponent's monster. You have to go a second for this to work. You summon Charger. Charger's effect goes off. Summon 9V. 9V's effect goes off. You summon a fuel cell. And if you have a fuel cell already in your hand, that's 9,000 damage. They lose. Now, really, this only works if they have 1 monster and don't set any back row, which Noble Knights will do that. They'll just summon a monster, equip it, set a card, usually roll a decree, go ahead. Now, odds are Noble Knights are not something that they're meta right now. I mean, Necros and everything. Jin is very tough against you. Stormforth is really the only way to get around it. This card is really good. It gets around the Jin lock, so. And then 3 copies of MST because you need a main 3 MST this format. 2 copies of Darkhold because I don't want to play Raigeki in my deck. And besides, I think Dark Hole is actually a little better for this deck because it can kill all the monsters, so it kills all your monsters that you can use for industrial fuel. 1 copy of recycling batteries just to get back any of the Hunders or 9 volts in your graveyard. 1 Book of Moon. This is my attack and I like it. What you do, this can put something face down, so when they attack you with a Trish, you can say, book, put it face down, and if they don't want to Brannack you to negate it, then you're fine. And then 1 copy of Snatch Steal, because it's Snatch Steal, you have to play it. 3 copies of, that doesn't fit the spell base, by the way, 3 copies of Call of the Haunted. This is basically a monster reborn, except you can only do it on, you know, I guess you can do it both turns, but still. So you can call the Haunted back your 9 volt, and it won't die because it only dies on your end phase. So you can just bring it, you summon it, you get your search, and then you tribute it off for Charger, and you just go off that way. So Call of the Haunted is very powerful for this deck. Previously I was running Oasis of Dragon Souls, and I took that card out because honestly it's kind of bad because if they trigger you, and it goes back to your hand, the monster, if it doesn't come back to your hand for whatever reason, it's going to die. So. And then 2 copies of Devpro because you really need to get rid of things. I was considering putting a 3rd one in here, but it's a $3 common that I don't have, so 2 is good for the time being. 2 copies of Judgment of Thunder. I love this card. It's a normal trap. You can only activate it when you summon a Thunder, and you can destroy any card your opponent controls. So you can basically just say, okay, I'm going to summon a 9 volt off a microcell. Here's Judgment of Thunder. Pop one of your cards. And it's just a great way to get rid of a problem card. 1 Solemn, 1 Compulse, and 1 Bottomless. These are just staples. I don't play Torrential because Dark Hole is already a board wiped as it is, and I don't want to torrential away a good board if I don't have to. So onto the extra deck. The extra deck's really whatever you want it to be. This is just my personal preference because, you know, my meta and your meta are different, and these are just the cards that I originally had in here. 1 copy of Rhapsody in Berserk because the graveyard is relevant against most decks in the format, so you can just banish away 2 good cards in their grave. Cowboy because you can Cowboy for game if you can't OTK them. 1 Maestroke because it's just a stall card. If you don't have a turn 1 play, you can go Hunter, Maestroke, set, back row, whatever, not go. So it's a great like stall card if you don't have anything else too. My favorite card in the extra deck is probably 2 copies of Starlight Pallet Dynamo. He takes 2 level 4 lights. He's got 2,000 attack, 1,000 defense. You can detach both his XYZ materials, target a monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes 0 and its effect negated. So what you do is you summon this with 109 volt or something, and you get their search. Oh, well, I thought my door was open. Anyway, you negate their effect, and then you just swing over it with Star Leech. And you don't care if they depresent because they're still, you know, they get nothing out of it. Black Ship because it's Black Ship, and the hands are still a thing. And because, you know, if they have a Manju and they set... This is really... Like, Necros is really your worst matchup. But if they have this Manju or Sanju there with no back row, you can just summon out your Black Ship if you don't have the OTK, and you can just get rid of it. 1 Constellar Omega because you can detach and becomes unaffected. The problem is when you summon it into 5 back row, they say Bottomless, you say Effect, and then they say, you know, Compulse or something. And then you really can't stop unless... You really can't stop unless you have Book of Moon or something. And like I said before, I'm playing Ragnarok. This card's $5. I can't believe it. But, you know, it's just really good because in damage step, if it doesn't involve anything like an Honest, then you can just pop their card if they go activate a trap that affects it. So, 1 copy of Photon Strike Bouncer because there's a lock with this. You can have, let's say you have Charger, Industrial, and Fuel Cell on the board, and you attack with all, or let's just say you have these 3, and you have another Fuel Cell, and let's just say they have a monster on board, attack it, these 3 hit directly, so that's 3, 56, 77. You can then overlay the Fuel Cells for Bouncer, and they're at such a low life total that they can't get monster effects anymore. Or if it's with 2 9 volts, you can make Cowboy and burn them for game. But that's just a neat little combo that is in the deck. I really need to get this down. The last 2 cards in the deck are Synchros. 1 Stardust Dragon because destruction is everywhere, and 1 copy of Strat Dragon because this is a great turn 1 play and it can pop most of your opponent's cards. So that does it for the Batteryman deck. Please let me know what you think of it in the descriptions below. And there is a new thing I'm going to do on my channel. It's called FNM and Locals Updates. So now every time I go to Locals or I go to Friday Night Magic, I'm going to let you guys know how I do, show you the deck that I played at the event. If I already haven't done a deck profile, in that case I'll just leave it in the description. And I'll tell you how I did, and I want some improvements so I can be better at the games. So anyway, I'm Last of Gaia. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.